Have y'all been keeping up with what's going on in Iran?
No.
Yeah. So so this girl, Jina Amini, or
Yes.
initially the news called
Kurdish.
her Mahsa Amini. She's a Kurdish girl whose
Yes.
Kurdish name is Jina.
Yes.
Mahsa was the news approved name basically in Iranian. Was killed by the morality police for just wearing her hijab incorrectly. And so now there is a massive movement in Iran that is led
Revolt.
by a revolt in Iran that's led by girls and women. Basically just like I don't know all the details of like what they're actually doing and how they're like
Well, it's
fighting
never
back,
that,
but
is it?
yeah,
It's always spontaneous, and there's always a million and one
exactly.
different interests, and
Right.
it's chaos. But you know what the tone is. The tone is the regime. This regime needs to be overthrown.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, like underscoring that it was a Kurdish woman, specifically because, in the global Kurdish community, obviously not a monolith politically, Kurdish people, just like any other people.
Yeah.
But there is a sizable, Kurdish revolutionary movement and effort tied to what's been going on in the autonomous administration of Northeast Syria.
Yeah.
And Kurdish people are also like, they're displaced people caught within, the confines of these nation state partitions, colonial partitions and borders. And I think it's just really, in the context of Iran, it's like, it's super important to underscore that and make that connection, because I'm not as up to date as I should be about what's going on day by day. I'm just getting the updates of like people in revolt.
As of yesterday, I saw that a major prison was on fire. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the prison, and I don't.
Well, they burned a bunch of the Iranian state. I know they burned countless revolutionaries. They burned them in a I don't know if it was a prison or a facility or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm.
That's probably what you're thinking of.
Referring to, yeah.
But people are.
It's very Googleable. I can just search.
Yeah, people are tired and they're done, and the tone that I'm getting is like done with the regime. But this is where the anti-state critique and even imagination is really important, and that's also the direct connection to this woman being Kurdish, because the
Evin prison.
Yeah.
Which I don't know the pronunciation, but
the connection is important, because I don't know what this woman who was murdered, I don't know what her political views were, and I don't know what she did and didn't support.
Well, she was just visiting with family. I don't know if it was. I mean, she was super young. I want to say like 20,
early 20s.
Yeah, at the oldest.
But
her brother was even like before they came was debating whether or not she should come. All these things, and just like
I was just gonna say though, I don't know what her specific views were or are, but I do feel like there are a lot of interests beyond even the Iranian government that do not want her being Kurdish to even be mentioned or brought up, because of this connection that I'm making around an anti-state imagination, because the Kurdish revolutionaries that I fuck with and support, they're building on radically democratic projects that transcend the nation state model. And and in terms of Iran, that's in terms of here, that's the shit that we got to start looking at. I feel like that's the stuff that we got to start thinking about. And I would hope that whatever comes out of the struggle and the space that's opened up in Iran is not limited to the state, that something can, and I know that there are people with these values and these ideas and these politics in Iran in revolt right now.
Yes.
But who knows what kind of, I'm really just thinking about the imagination piece, because you can only hope that in these moments where there's these ruptures, as I call them, people have the imagination to think beyond, oh, let's just get better people in. This regime was so horrible and repressive. Now let's just get better people in, and they'll change the state. It's like, how do you conceive of like a move to a state?
Yeah. And
I'm not an idealist, right? Like, I'm realistic. I know, like, it doesn't matter. It's spontaneous. You can't plan it.
Right.
But who's to say if, like, collectively, if there was like a global movement, with this, they just start the baseline there, what could come out of that?
Right. And regarding the imagination tip and the Israel tip, it's like, when you have a state that's positioned by all these outside powers and narratives as the only democracy in the Middle East, allegedly, because of these connections to America, then you have that limiting.
Talking about Israel.
Yeah. Then you have that limiting effect, and not to disregard their active suppression of any type of like movements, like whether it's in Palestine or in Lebanon or all these other places, but like, you have that confounding factor of, well, people look at this place like it actually represents that, when it represents like an even more bastardized version of the democracy that we have here, which like even fucking people like Steven Crowder admit is not a democracy for for reasons that are not the same as ours.
God.
But like,
reminds me of the Tucker Carlson clip I saw today that was like fucking crazy. He was like, I am an elitist. I believe I'm an elitist in the sense that, the hierarchy. He literally says hierarchy.
I love it. I love that we're all saying the quiet parts out loud in this era right now.
Right.
Just say it. Just come out. He's
with
like,
my dogs have hierarchy. Animals have hierarchy. Someone's in charge, and it's like, someone's in charge.
Have you seen?
No, that's not.
That's
not what that means.
Have you seen Alpha Dog? Justin Timberlake in Alpha Dog. Have you seen the scene where he smokes weed and then takes a couple of seconds and he says, "Smoking weed"? Have you seen that?
But on
Justin Timberlake,
on the struggle for those who aren't familiar, the framework you might want to Google is called democratic confederalism. To have, and it's not just Kurdish revolutionaries that are fighting for this. It's people, of other backgrounds, fighting together. It's obviously a Kurdish-led effort, but to have something like that blossom or be successful in this region with all of this stuff going around is obviously a major threat, not just to the Iranian government or the state of Israel or Turkey or Qatar or Saudi Arabia. It's a threat to the United States of America. It's a threat to the quote unquote Western world. Rather, not the I'll say it's a threat to the ruling classes of these places and the governments and the nation states of these places, not to the poor and working class people in these places. And the thing that my mind has just been at, this shit is crumbling whether whoever wants it to or not. This is literally, if you're right wing, left wing, whatever the fuck that means, that's basically meaningless. But no matter where you are in the quote unquote political compass, everybody, I feel like there's a consensus that, oh yeah, this shit is falling apart. There are going to be power vacuums. So it's just a question of what is going to come out of that. What is going to shape out of that? And what are we fighting for? Where's our imagination given that?
Right.
That's the kind of macro through line I see with all of these conflicts,